This week, we take a trip down the Witch's Road with Agatha Harkness. The Penguin crashes his way through Gotham City in that first episode of his new series. DC casts its official Hal Jordan, and a whole lot more coming your way. Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse.
Warning.
Red alert.
Ay, 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 ay!
Danger, Will Robinson. Danger.
That's the emergency alert. This episode is full of spoilers for some of the latest and greatest nerdy movies and shows.
Spoilers.
Listener discretion is advised.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Infinite Taylorverse podcast. I'm Billy Taylor.
And I'm Taylor Oxner.
And this week we're back to talk about all the fun things going on out there in the great world of pop culture. But before we jump into that, Taylor, what have you been nerding out about this week?
This week, I have been nerding out about the movie Brawl in Cell Block 66 and with Vince Vaughn, and it's pretty good.
Nice. I don't know that I've
It's a-
seen that movie.
It's a drama. I don't know if it went to theaters.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Like, I'm watching it, and it's like older, but I guess there's like a steel book that just got released for it. So I think it's one of those movies that like got like a cult following afterwards,
Yeah.
like a Boondock Saints or a yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's one of his like more serious roles. Like, it's not a comedy, and yeah, he's like a tough guy, big cross tattoo on the back of his head. He's bald in it, looks huge. Like, it's pretty. Has a lot of bad things happen to him. He becomes a mule.
Yeah.
And that's how it starts.
All right. Well, I might have to check it out.
Yeah, so far it's been great, but that's not the best movie I saw this week. Best movie I saw this week was Transformers, but we'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah. So good. Well, let's see. I'm nerding out about some luck that came my way. So I have to say that this past year, I've had some luck come about fun events come at me. But I have to say that in my whole entire life, luck comes in waves. It's either a massive, several years long drought of luck or a handful of really cool things coming all at once. And when I have to go pick my kids up from school, I'm sitting in the pickup line. I'll turn on different radio stations. And you guys might remember me talking a few months back. They had a Valentine's Day promotion on one radio station, and you had to text a response, and I texted a response, and they picked mine, and I won 2 free tickets to go see Better Than Ezra in concert for free. That was really cool. Well, last week, I was sitting in the kids' pickup line listening to a different radio station, Mix 93.3, if you're from Kansas City, one that I've listened to for decades, and I have never won anything from, try as I may, for years. But they had a thing, be the ninth caller, guess what movie this quote is from, and they played an audio clip from a movie. I knew the clip, and I called in, and for the first time in literal decades, someone answered and said, "You're caller number 10, but don't hang up, hang on the line." And a few seconds later, they came back over and said, "Caller number 9 got the answer wrong. What is your answer?" And I said it, and I got it right. So I won some free tickets to go to the big monster truck show that was here in Kansas City. And I have never been to a monster truck show. It was really freaking cool. And
Yeah, it looked like it was a lot of fun. I saw your pictures.
yeah, I took the boys and we just watched monster trucks destroy cars and watched guys on motorcycles, do giant motorcycle backflips. And man, it was 2 hours of ear pain and awesomeness.
Oh yeah, did you guys not get earplugs?
I did for the boys. I didn't get myself any because they were
Oh, good.
so expensive and I didn't have any at home. And
Oh dang, you should have went to like a Walgreens. They're so cheap.
I probably should have. I wasn't thinking about it until I was there because, like I said, I've never been to a monster truck show. It was super cool. And so I guess I'm nerding out about this week about some monster trucks crushing cars. It was awesome.
It's awesome.
Well, hey, let's jump into the news. Let's start with Marvel. So this week, the 2-episode premiere of Agatha All Along came out. And I'm thinking real quick, I think it'd be cool if at the end of this, we just talk about the show as a whole, but we can give some cool, quick thoughts. And my first thought is every sign is pointing towards this teenage boy being Wiccan, but what if they're trying to throw us off?
I don't. So you sent me this earlier this week, and how did I respond? Did I even respond to it?
I think you
feel like
just
I
I think you
did.
said interesting.
Okay, so what I meant to respond is dumb. We want Wiccan.
Oh, that's what I want too. I want it to be Wiccan.
That character is so cool.
Yes. But I'm wondering, I actually saw some theories online. One of the theories is like, what if it's Nicholas Scratch, who's Agatha's son, and she just doesn't know? Maybe he's in a different form or whatever. But I don't know. I want it to be Wiccan, and all signs point to Wiccan. But what if they're trying to throw us off?
No.
But
I listen. I could get throwing us off about like a Mephisto or something like that, but a character that is closely related to like the whole Agatha storyline and everything like this. Like it doesn't even like, nah.
yeah, that's not what I want. I want it to be Wiccan. I also gotta say that the second episode, I loved it so much. And that Down the Witch's Road song is a total bop. Hope it comes to Spotify. I'm looking forward to what is to come in this show. I love Deborah Jo Rupp's character. Oh my gosh, the mom from That 70s Show. She is so funny. And yeah, looking forward to so much from this show. But yeah, I think when the whole series is over, we'll do a little bit of tidbits each week, and then we'll really give our major deep dive thoughts when the series is done.
Yeah.
Something else with Marvel. What'd you think of that Thunderbolts trailer?
Well, apparently it's the first Thunderbolts trailer that's ever been on the TV, and apparently it's really good. I
Apparently.
apparently the Century's in it. Apparently, and everybody crapped their apparent pants when they realized it when they were watching the trailer. Apparently,
Apparently.
so I got three things from it. One that revealed as Robert Reynolds, isn't that what his name is?
It's Robert Reynolds.
Okay, so they did the alliteration name because do we need to like talk about this character on the podcast so that people understand how important he is?
Yeah, I'll say all I really know is he's basically Marvel's Superman, but you tell us all about him.
Okay, brief summary. So let's pretend that we all forgot that there was a superhero that was the greatest superhero ever, better than Superman, better than Batman, better than the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Superman, the Hulk, all of them. And let's pretend that we all just kind of forgot that he was in comics with them. Just forgot.
Yep.
That is the story of the century. So you have this character who existed during the 60s, the heyday of the Marvel Universe, right? And he would go on adventures with Spider-Man. He was best friends with Reed Richards. He was all these characters, and then suddenly nobody remembers who he is. Well, let's say that this character not only is the greatest, he's the most powerful being. And this character also has schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder. And there's this opposite side of him called the Void, who is just as powerful, but just as evil. And the only way for them to save themselves from this character is for everyone to forget, for him to forget, for everyone. And then that character all of a sudden starts to slowly kind of remember, but doesn't remember.
Yeah.
And no one else does. And so he's crazy, but he knows he needs to be locked away, but he doesn't really know why. And that's really the story of the century. And that's mostly just set up for the story of the century, because I really do recommend you go and read it, because it's the concept of it's incredible. But it's a very interesting character to pick when it comes to the Thunderbolts, because you're dealing with a bunch of characters who have two sides to them.
Yeah.
And I think the Century he has the power of a billion exploding suns.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have like an upper, even in comics, there was never really an upper strength level there. I mean, we're talking like Thor, like Odin, like we're talking like Celestials. He's Superman in the Marvel Universe. I would say even like technically probably more powerful. I mean, would you say that? I guess it's weird because it kind of depends on what Superman you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
definitely up there, equal, if not more. Yeah.
yeah, and just a sad story
Yeah.
too, because he made Doctor Strange and Reed Richards make everyone forget about him, even himself. So it's, and he starts to come back, which means the evil starts to come back, and then they all have to do it all over again. So it's like a I'm wondering at what point in his character's history are we going to see him? He looks like he's been locked away.
Yeah, he looked like he was in a medical hospital gown.
Yeah, like in a facility, maybe drugged up so he can't, remember anything or do anything. But it makes me wonder if that's our entryway to the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. Maybe the Fantastic Four doesn't even exist at all on this planet, in this dimension. But it's a character that's steeped in mystery and then ends in sadness, but has its points of really high, of like Superman level like heights when it comes to points, like tearing Carnage apart in the middle of
Yeah.
outer space, stuff like that. So I'm very excited about that. I think it's awesome that the person they picked to play him, at least the human version of him, he looks fragile.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to, because he is, in all intents and purposes, physically and mentally completely fragile. I like the fact that we saw like the emblem, which
Yep.
means that he has been the Century before. So it means the Century has existed in a suit and has done good or bad things.
Yep.
So we need an explanation why we haven't seen this guy, especially during the whole Thanos stuff.
Yeah.
And then we have all these mercenaries for some reason just around him.
Yeah, it looks like they're trying to group a whole bunch of people together and end them. And he was in that collection of people. So the government's doing something cray cray.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We get to see the U.S. agent in his suit doing things in his suit, not just
Mm-hmm.
standing there, which I thought was pretty cool. When I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that looks really good in action." I liked
Yeah.
that. I didn't like the lighting in any of it.
It did seem kind of
Whatever,
dark.
like, was it? It was like some kind of filter or something, but it looked like it was. You remember the first time you ever saw like an LED TV?
Yeah.
And it looks like you're like watching like British TV or like a play or something.
Yep.
That's what it looked like to me.
Okay.
Like when I was watching the trailer, it distracted me almost the whole entire time through it. I don't know if that was just maybe the way it was like shot or whatever, but it was super distracting. And last thing, everybody has new suits.
Yep. They
Like
look pretty good.
everybody. They all looked really good. I was like, oh, and they all use suits that actually exist in the comics. They
Yep.
weren't just like random, like weird changes, which I saw online, like a couple people like complaining about the suits. And I was like, yeah, but they're like accurate for once. They're not like weird, like, military-esque armor suits, power armor suits for
Yeah.
no apparent reason. Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Oh, same. It looks so good and so fun. And I love David Harbour. That character cracks me up that he plays. And
Yeah.
I'm just excited to see them all back in action. And speaking of David Harbour, he was actually in an interview since that trailer's been released. And someone asked him, why is there an asterisk next to Thunderbolts? When you look at the title screen, it's Thunderbolts with an asterisk to the right. And here's his exact response. He said, the asterisk was an idea that someone had. What can I say that's not going to get me in trouble? The asterisk is cool. I understand why people might put an asterisk there. I'm excited for the viewers to see why as well. And I can't say anymore. And after that was said, there was a lot of theories online like, oh my gosh, what if it's just a placeholder name? What if this is going to be like the Dark Avengers? Or even real crazy, what if they become Hammer or something like that? And
Well,
I know that's a Norman Osborn team, but
so are the Thunderbolts.
right. So everyone has all these theories of after him saying all that about the asterisk. What if it's just a placeholder name? And
Yeah, well, we do know this. It's not the traditional version of the Thunderbolts, because like
right.
the traditional, like original version is Baron Zemo and all the heroes. Well, not all the heroes, but like 75% of like the heroes of Earth were gone,
Yeah.
and so they dressed up as new heroes, and they were going, and then they just wound up becoming heroes instead of. It was like they were playing a Trojan horse on the world, and then they wound up being an actual horse. That
Yeah.
was like the whole Thunderbolts thing. But then later it was a government program, kind of like Suicide Squad.
Yep.
And people always kind of saw it as like a Marvel versions of the Suicide Squad, which
Yeah.
in all intensive purposes, sorta, yeah, but a little bit more governmenty, I think. Like Suicide Squad's like hush hush, and like everybody has an explosive like strapped to their neck and like things like that. This
Yeah.
is even more so that like they have handlers. Hammer is who they work for.
Yep.
There's a mountain, like a compound, and then they can work, time off off their
Sentence or whatever.
sentences. Or they were also known as one of the 50 state initiatives during the Civil War. So Colorado's team was the Thunderbolts.
Okay.
So it wasn't like a hidden thing like Task Force X is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that the Thunderbolts is a thing. Like it's very public. Like it's not a secret program or anything. Like it's very much like, yeah, these are villains who were trying to rehabilitate. And then during Civil War, it become, yeah, these are villains who signed up for the Registration Act, and now we're using them to go after people who aren't.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so excited to see this movie. I don't know. I feel like I'm always excited when a new Marvel thing comes out, but this one for some reason has me real excited.
I think it's because it's like a new thing. Like we know these characters, but it's like a new thing. Like it's not, hey, we're getting another Avengers or another Iron Man or another,
And
you
it's
know.
also, as much as I love multiversal epic events, it's also kind of a more grounded event again.
Yeah, I am getting a little like I'm excited for all the Secret War stuff to come because there is a light at the end of the tunnel and all the multiverse stuff. As much as I like am really enjoying like all the fun little, oh look, there's a goofy version of this person, or like there's a really bad version of this person, you know. I want like a bad guy like Thanos again.
I would just be excited seeing, Spider-Man and Daredevil fight the Kingpin. Something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Even like an apocalypse story. I mean, it's we're
Yeah.
all on Earth. It's less like dimension hopping and then multiples of characters. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's the same reason why I want the symbiote stuff to be its own like a symbiote saga. I don't need it part of the multiverse saga, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And don't get me wrong, I love all this multiverse stuff. I love all the
Yes,
crazy
it's
variants.
a lot of fun. The variants, don't get me wrong. It's just at this point I'm ready for new.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Speaking of all the multiverse stuff, we know that Marvel and Sony has this weird relationship when it comes to Spider-Man characters. Well, they actually came to a new legal agreement this past week, and here's what it said. Sony will notify Marvel Studios anytime they're about to use a Spider-Man related villain in a non-MCU project. And Marvel will be blocked from using that character until 30 days after the movie has been released on video on demand. So let's say Craven, he's about to have this movie that comes
Hmm.
out, and then
Yeah.
months later it'll be on streaming. Then 30 days after it comes to streaming, then Marvel MCU can use that character. And that's just a new thing
That
they
exact character?
or any character. That was just my example. So if they're about to use Craven, that's why I said Craven. It could be any Marvel villain. So anytime they use a Spider-Man villain,
No, I understood that aspect of it. What I'm saying is that version of that character.
right, they can make their own version of it. They just can't use it at all until
Okay.
30 days after it's been released to video on demand.
See, I guess my whole thing is that I'm seeing it as, oh, good, they're going to be able to use some of those Sony characters, so there's going to be more interconnectivity.
I think so, because Sony
But I
doesn't want to
think
lose
it's more,
their
but I
creative
think it's more
rights.
general than that.
Yeah. Sony doesn't want to lose their creative rights and make whatever the heck they want to make, but they also know the value of those characters being in the MCU. So they've come to this agreement where they get to do what they want, and Marvel just has a little time limit, a time frame that they can't touch it. But then it's released 30 days after that character's movie has been released to video on demand. So
I'm
things
sure
like
they'll get I'm sure there's like a 30% or more kickback at the end too.
something, yeah. Venom, for example, is about to have its movie, but it
Hmm.
sounds like he's a big star. Not only Venom, but that version of Venom is going to be a big part of the new Spider-Man movies. And speaking of that, Tom Holland also finally signed a new deal this past week for
Woo!
3 solo films and 3 additional MCU films.
Oh,
Yes,
that's a big contract.
that was a very big contract. And all signs point towards this Tom Hardy version of Eddie Brock Venom being a big part of that next saga that we're going to get with Spider-Man.
I'm sorry, two British guys, two Spider-Man characters. Like this is really turning into something that I'm really falling in love with. I just have to say.
You're such a Spidey Anglophile.
Oh man.
But yeah, lots of cool spider stuff coming. Can't wait. It also sounds like we're getting a Ghost Rider project sooner than we thought, and it's supposed to be a series, not a movie. And it's not going to revolve around Johnny Blaze. It's supposed to revolve around Danny Ketch. And that's the reported stuff. But the big rumor tied to it is that Ryan Gosling might be playing Danny Ketch in this series.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Ryan Gosling, but when he like doesn't talk,
Right.
like in Drive, like the movie Drive, or like what was that one? Oh, Only God Forgives. That's what it's called. And like he doesn't talk a lot in those two movies, and it works.
But again, that part's just a rumor.
So if we get like an older, like grizzled, like Johnny Blaze, like I don't know, Keanu Reeves did sign a deal like forever and ever ago, and people were trying to get Norman Reedus to be Ghost Rider forever and ever too.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're still gonna get a Norman Reedus anything anymore.
Well, he's supposedly Null in the Venom movies, and that stuff might be crossing into our MCU.
Norman Reedus is Null?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
yeah.
I was not thinking that.
Right.
Who? How do you get that job? How do you get the job of being the guy to like be like, that's our guy? Who's the guy who can't make the right decisions and so he gets that job?
Right.
Just kidding. I mean, Norman Reedus could be awesome in that character. I'd never been. I would have picked somebody a little more maniacal, I think.
Yeah. And Null's gonna look so weird, I think that he could probably still play something else and be unrecognizable.
That's true. Like, I don't think I would want to know that isn't 90% CGI anyway.
Yeah.
That's a good thing a lot about superhero villains is that you really can double dip with actors when it comes to a lot of those characters.
Oh yeah. One last random thing about Marvel. So the character Miss Minutes from Loki, it sounds like Miss Minutes is going to be showing up in Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars and have more than a tiny cameo type of a role, it sounds like.
I thought you were about to say Miss Minutes is about to get a Disney Plus show, and I was like, okay, I'm over it. I was like, okay, not everyone needs one.
I don't know if they still somehow tie Kang into all this because it just doesn't make sense for him to fall off the face of the MCU with how they set him
Oh,
up.
they're gonna have some exposition,
I'm sure.
something.
But Miss Minutes will be there. And then the very last thing about Marvel this week, Deadpool and Wolverine comes to video on demand on October 1st and then to Disney Plus on October 22nd. Can't wait.
Yay.
That's going to be my new comfort movie. Well, over with DC, they finally cast the DCU's Green Lantern, Hal Jordan. And it came out of nowhere, in my opinion, but they've cast Kyle Chandler. And if you don't know that name, he was on Friday Night Lights. He was on Early Edition back in the day.
Kyle Chandler. Okay, I just looked him up. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I can see it.
I can totally see it, especially if they're going with a slightly aged version. And the plot is he's going to be mentoring a young Jon Stewart. And that's kind of part of it.
You know what's crazy is the first picture you see with him in IMDb that's not just a picture with him is
Uh-huh.
a picture of him and Jason Bateman. And man, you know who else could play a really good Hal Jordan?
Jason Bateman.
Bateman.
That's funny. But yeah, I love that guy. So I feel like it's going to be good.
Yeah, I can see him playing the Galactic Police role real well.
This week we saw the first episode of The Penguin, and kind of like Agatha, we'll wait a little bit till the show's over and talk about it. But that first episode, in the past we talked about how it's kind of weird to have a whole show about this particular character. It's like, who wants that? But I've got to say, after watching that first episode, I am completely sucked in. It was very good. It was such a good show. If you remove the whole Batman Gotham City element to it and just look at it as a crime drama, it was so good. And then you remember like, oh yeah, that's Gotham City and Batman's in this city and this is the Penguin. This series picks up 1 week after the Batman movie and it just jumps in with the story head first there. It was definitely worth a watch, and we're going to jump into this series at the end when it's all done. One big thing about DC this week is they released the latest trailer for Superman and Lois season 4, and they are going with the death of Superman's storyline because in this trailer he is dead. And holy emotions.
Yeah,
It was so
I
good.
love the way you said he was super dead.
He is Super dead. But
Uh,
they preserve his body. He's in the fortress. It's a very different version, but it's all the beats from Death of Superman. And Lex was freaking ruthless looking in this thing. He had his battle armor as well. And it's going to be a 2-hour premiere early October. I cannot wait. I'm so pumped.
are you gonna wear your battle armor while you're watching him in his battle armor?
Maybe. Actually, that's a big negative. Post-COVID, Billy does not fit in his Lex Luthor battle armor.
Oh, fair.
Post-COVID, Billy doesn't fit into a lot of things.
I was the weird opposite way with COVID because I think it gave me so much anxiety.
Oh man.
I wish I would have had a more relaxing COVID experience, but I was working with the public.
Yeah. Let's see. The last thing I got here with DC is Mark Waid was in an interview randomly, and somehow it came up that Crypto the Superdog is going to appear in the James Gunn Superman movie, and I think that's awesome.
That's from the man of talking raccoons. That's not that big of a surprise.
Right.
I think we're going to see a lot of DC things that we have never seen before because he's in charge.
Yes.
I would be very surprised if we didn't get a live action badge.
Oh man, I hope we do.
Do you doubt the fact that we'll get a live action badge knowing that he's in charge?
Oh, not at all. I 100% expect it at this point.
I would be more surprised if we don't see Ambush Bug within the first 10 James Gunn movies
Right.
than if I would see like I don't know.
Hopefully we get like Atrocitus and all these crazy Lantern characters in the Lantern
No,
series.
yeah. Or like the one that looks like a big circle with like arms coming out of it.
Yes.
Yeah, some like the more like ridiculous lanterns. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. Over with Star Wars, there wasn't a lot going on, but my kids and I watched the entire Lego Star Wars Rebuild the Galaxy series. And dude, that thing was so much fun.
Good, I'm glad.
Last week there were only 2 episodes out, but then over this weekend, all 4 episodes are out now. So you can watch the whole thing. And it ends on a cliffhanger that kind of, not necessarily a cliffhanger, but it ends in such a way that it has set up a whole new parallel Star Wars universe that they can make a whole lot of toys and series and Legos and all kinds of stuff out of. And I'm all
That's
for it.
awesome.
Yeah. It was really funny seeing some of the bad guys as good guys and good guys as
So
bad guys.
is it like the ultimate Star Wars universe?
Kind of, except lots of characters are way opposite. Like Darth
Oh,
Vader and
okay.
the Emperor are good, and Jar Jar is a Sith, and like there's all kinds of crazy weird swaps, but it made for a really fun show.
That's awesome.
The last few things about this week, we got a teaser trailer for Wednesday season 2. That was a lot of fun to watch. We got a trailer for Netflix's new animated Tomb Raider movie called The Legend of Lara Croft, and it supposedly takes place after the original trilogy of games. So anything that came after the original trilogy of games, this movie would come before any of that stuff.
That's cool.
We also got a teaser trailer for Sandman season 2. But yeah, lots of good trailers out there, guys.
Finally.
Yeah. I really enjoyed season 1 of that show.
Yeah, that show's a trip. I love that show.
One last thing to remind you guys about locally in the Kansas City area. Don't forget BadCon is coming up October 12th over in Pleasant Valley, Missouri. I mean, it's pretty much Kansas City. Go look them up, find some tickets, see who's coming. You're not going to want to miss it.
For
And
sure.
your homeboys here, we're going to be there. Come see us.
Yep.
Get out to BadCon, come see us. It's going to be a lot of fun. But ask for us here at the Taylorverse. I've been Billy Taylor.
And I'm Taylor Oxner.
And come back next week, guys. Same Taylor time, same Taylor channel.
We'll see you.
Bye.